Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Everybody in our amazing Spiritual Rockstar Podcast show. We've got an incredible guest. Ever wondered how metaphysics kind of goes together with Christianity? Maybe some of you are like, of course, I know that now. I have the lights turned on. And some of you, maybe probably a little bit more the minority, are like, I don't know about that yet. I'm not there yet. I'm sure there are definitely people listening that think that. So we're going to dive into all that together with my guest. I'm going to be doing my energy scan. That's why we call it the Energy Scan Show. We're going to talk about other things, the divine feminine, entrepreneurship, and all that, and get Katy's unique. I'm sure everybody's got their unique talking points on that, so we'll get into that as well, and so much more. Make sure you really tune into the whole show. You definitely don't want to miss the energy scan. It's really powerful for the people listening because you'll hear what you need to hear because you're here for a reason. All right, so Katy, it's really a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And I think Spirit has been preparing me all week because I've just felt like shifts all week long. And so today it dawned on me. I was like, that's because I'm getting this energy scan with Dana later on. So
it's already recalibrating.
Yes.
Everything. That's so fun. I love that. I tell them all about you, Katy, from what I have here, just briefly, and then we'll get into the rest. Katy Valentine is a spiritual business coach at Soul Savvy Business who empowers entrepreneurs to partner with the divine to get more peace, clarity, and abundance in their personal lives and businesses. She especially loves working with the divine feminine to shift entrepreneurs into their full potential. Oh, yeah, she's an ordained minister, a New Testament scholar, and she plays what? The harp? Yes, yes, that too. She does strike me as a person probably could pick up about anything pretty fast. Don't let any of this scare you, though. She definitely is a powerful force, and she definitely is very, she's definitely very compassionate and all-embracing of everyone, so I just really want to hammer on that to get started because I see her. So she supports, and yes, she does support all paths to the divine, even though she's, an ordained minister and Christian. That's one of the things I really appreciate about her the most, among many other things, of course, but we'll get into that in a moment. So Katy, let's chat. You've had a journey. Maybe talk about your journey briefly. It would be a cool starting place, especially in your case. So you're an ordained minister, right?
Yeah.
Tradition, I don't know specifically, but I know that area. You went down a traditional path with all religion and all that. So, and then here you are, you're saying it's about the metaphysical way with Jesus.
Yeah.
All this other
right.
Stuff. Like you to talk about Aphrodite last time we talked.
Yeah.
Relaxed too, like, oh, she's with us now. People are on that end of things. Right? So what brought you to this place where I'm sure you get as much praise as little rocks thrown at you maybe or something, I don't know, but like just people like, what are you doing? You betrayed the real teachings, or who knows, right? So yeah. I'm all about it. Yeah, tell us about your journey with all that.
Oh, sure, some people throw rocks, but that's how you know you're doing something right, I think.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I grew up in the South in the United States, and I grew up at a combination of going to a Catholic school and this mainline Protestant church on the weekends, all surrounded by Southern Baptists. So if you want to name a trauma, I probably had it. And if you want to name a gift in any of those traditions, I probably had that too. But the real gift in that was that I saw from the very beginning, I think my parents really modeled this for me, there's no one right way, and that everyone also has all their flaws. So fast forward, I was always interested in all things spiritual. I was actually really interested in the woo stuff when I was little, but didn't have a way to name that. And it was sort of vaguely terrifying with no one to lead me. So I shut all that down pretty quickly, like a lot of us do. Entered my adult years, and I actually was really interested in academics. So that's what I pursued all the way through my PhD. I landed in Berkeley, California to work on my PhD. Well, you can't escape metaphysics if you're in Berkeley, California. That's just like the mecca of, chakras and goddess and all of that kind of thing. And so I was really, really fortunate that I think Spirit landed me there, because I was able to explore maybe some of this off the beaten path spirituality. At the same time, I was doing very traditional studies in New Testament. And I was going to this church, and it was a church in Berkeley, so they were really open to this kind of path. Fast forward a few years later, finally finished my degree, felt the call to be an ordained minister, which I have to tell you, absolutely no one hears that call and thinks, yes, this is exactly what I thought of my whole life. Everyone thinks, oh, shit. What am I getting into?
Whenever I've considered being a minister, that's exactly what I say each time.
Yeah. And you only do it because you can't like sleep at night if you don't.
Yeah.
No sane person does it any other way that I've met. And so I did. So I got ordained. I served as the associate minister of a church in California for a few years. And then I felt Spirit prompting me to really do this metaphysical work that I do full time. So I started full-time coaching, and I started teaching Christians how to love metaphysics, and I taught them about chakras and energy and divine feminine and you name it. Then fast forward a few years after that, and I moved to Ireland. I live in Ireland now, and I think getting here was part of that spiritual journey. Started working a lot with Bridget, both in saint and goddess form, all still while kind of maintaining my Christian identity. And then I felt the call to start coaching entrepreneurs. And I thought, well, holy shit. So, and then here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you if we can curse on this show, but I'm the kind of ordained person who sometimes.
Right. Yeah, here we go.
I'll rein it back in now. So.
No, it's okay. So wonderful. Yeah, I'm just feeling myself like being there in that energy of Berkeley. It's like, it's kind of cool, right? It's like, this is fun. We're learning and exploring and all these levels. So yeah, it feels like a very cool period of time when I tune into it. So yeah, some people are probably like, yes, teach those Christians about those chakras and everything. That's pretty funny. I think that it's interesting that, yeah, most of us are probably, because we've come from the Christian tradition of many of our listeners, right? And then we're like, whoa, there's more to it than that. And for me as a kid, I think maybe similar to you, I felt really strongly about my spirituality in terms of the connection. And I would go to church on my own. It was across the street. So sometimes I'd even go on my own. My parents weren't huge going to church consistently at all. So I was like, oh, I feel like going to a service today. Let's go over there. And I always felt that spiritual energy so strongly at church, but I always was like, I don't think it's just all the real truth though here at all. Something off here. Right? So
right.
Like that person with that sensor for truth, right? So I was like, something's not quite right, but I love the energy. And so I think a lot of people have that experience, and then as they grow, or more though, so as people buy into it completely, and then they awaken later in life, and then they're like, wow, all these other things. So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Where you were even more focused maybe in the past, but you still do this work. So with Christians that are starting to move from that space of being like, man, I was full in Catholic or Baptist or whatever it was. I was just totally into it. And now I'm realizing like, wow, it's not really true or whatever, all these things. So do most people come to you? Are they early on and kind of discovering more of this, I don't know, beyond their religion, spirituality sort of thing? Or are they further along and they're like, yeah, I just want to gobble this up even more? Or is it vary? Or I'm just curious.
I would say the majority of people I work with have been on the spiritual path for a while, even if they didn't quite know what to call that. And most, I would say 75% probably, have been in a fairly evangelical either culture or setting. And so Southern Baptist, Assemblies of God, something like that. And they've begun to question what they were taught were absolute truths. And some of those absolute truths that they were taught is that like Reiki is evil, or if you open your chakras, you're letting demons into your soul. And they kind of know intuitively that's probably not true, but they don't know how to go about studying it or articulate it. And so they really need someone who can hold a high vibrational space for them, really create an atmosphere of love and compassion. And thank you for naming that for me earlier today. That's something that I try to cultivate in my own practice and in the space I hold for my clients. And then I give them some of the head knowledge they need, but I give them a lot of space to enter into that heart knowledge, to discover whatever it is they need to discover. And so I have no, there's no statements of belief or anything like that they have to sign on to work with me. I'm not telling them what to do, what to believe.
In these things, or otherwise you can't come in, right?
Right. Yeah. They get to discover that for themselves. And, for me, someone who is a Christian is simply someone who takes the words of Jesus very seriously in their lives and in their life. And whatever they think about Jesus' divinity or not is not up to me. That's up to them. But there's no litmus test for this. So for me, I am someone who was born into Christianity, and I've always taken it very seriously. And I don't let other people define that for me. So I don't let the crazies define that for you. I don't let the people who are sort of stalwart and rigid and stuck in their ways define that for me. So this is where I kind of hang my spiritual hat without it being exclusive.
Right.
So, I don't believe in hell. I don't think anyone's going to hell. I think we're all going to the source, by whatever name we call that. I just happen to use a Christian framework, a Jesus framework, to enter into that conversation.
Right.
I do very well with knowing what my roots are, and then letting the treetop expand really, really wide.
That's great. Yeah. So depending, most churches in Christianity say Jesus is your savior. Jesus died for your sins, right? That's what I heard that a million times, right?
Sure.
Died for your sins, you're a sinner. Jesus died for your sins, you're a sinner. Like, wait a minute, we didn't say it enough. Let's say it again.
Yeah.
Like again and again and again.
There's a lot of we're not worthy kind of.
Right, exactly. You unworthy sinners, but Jesus came to die for you anyway,
Yeah.
kind of vibe. So so I'm just curious, just for exploration purposes here for you and the listeners, where do you stand with the idea Jesus is your savior, unless you believe in him, and specifically in him in a specific way or whatever, you can't enter heaven, or you can't. I know you already said you don't believe in hell.
Yeah. I've already tipped my hand.
Pop the bubble on that one completely anyway. But I'm just curious what your take is on Jesus in that regard, and ultimately overall. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I think we have a couple of options, right? So Jesus can be all human and not divine. Jesus can be all divine, not human. Jesus can be all divine and all human, which is where the creeds came down. That's what the church decided in around the 4th century, which makes no logical sense, when you think about it. But a lot of people sort of profess this, and I don't have a problem with it. So I do work with the idea of Jesus as savior, because the world is pretty messed up. But not as a ticket to get into heaven, but as a model for us on how to live our best lives here. Not the only model, but a model. Okay. And so in that sense, Jesus as savior is showing us the way that we can all participate in the salvation of the earth by making it the garden, by making it the beloved kingdom, by making it the best world it can be. Sure, I have no problem with that. I don't think that Jesus is sort of standing at the gates of heaven, checking our tickets, seeing if did you make a statement of belief or profession of faith at some point in your life? I think Jesus has other things to do besides that. And when I read the New Testament, what I understand the New Testament to be, which I've spent a lot of time and money reading it to learn how to read it, what I see is someone who's very invested in humanity. Very invested in healing the sick, in correcting injustices, and in showing people what the kingdom can actually look like. So I think that's what we're charged to do. So Jesus is savior, I'm fine with it, but I have maybe a different way of understanding it than as a ticket into heaven because
Mhm.
frankly I have better things to do. So does Jesus. And but I also work with other concepts of Jesus, like Jesus as friend,
Mhm.
Jesus as companion. One of my colleagues offered this to me the other day. Jesus and God as coach
Mhm.
that can kind of kick your butt when you really need, but also give you a hug when you need. So I kind of work with all of those concepts in with Jesus energy.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. Hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I was for me, yeah, I always had that question. So what is the Jesus thing all about before I start channeling Jesus and stuff? So I had have another kind of perspective on it now
Right.
at that level. So um the idea, yeah, one of my metaphysical teachers, ministers said, well, I came here to just be that big transmission that gives people like at that deeper seated level, like, you're saved, just know you're saved, like
Hmm.
that sort of thing. And that was his take. And that's sort of it resonated. I was like, yeah, okay, I can see that that holds some importance. Then you hear other people say it's all like there's always people that say, and I sometimes I'm in this category of depending on what it is. It's all a scam. It's all it's all about showing you got to sacrifice. You got to just be selfless. Just do whatever the higher powers, that meaning the church and maybe your governments or whatever.
Right.
Tell you, it's all to control you, and all that stuff. The Jesus thing, throw in the bucket, forget about it. Kind of idea. And yeah, I mean, who knows is kind of where I'm at. Like sometimes I'm like, well, who knows? But all I know is I have such a strong energy with Jesus. I remember I was doing the rebirthing process, and
Mm,
and this was many years ago, and I just could have swore I was Jesus in a past life at first. Like that's how it felt. It felt that strong. I am Jesus. I didn't focus on trying to feel that energy. It just came to me in the rebirthing process. And that was probably my strongest first connection with Jesus, is just in that process. And then it just led me to investigate. And again, who knows, maybe I'm a subset of many souls that have this experience. I was a disciple of Jesus, it has turned out, in a past life and all this stuff. So it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They have such a strong, maybe strong connection with that energy. And then I started channeling at some point. Overall, at first it was really Gandhi, and then it was Jesus, and then the rest that I do. But for me, my experience, just to drop my own little thing in here, it's like my experience, it's all about the heart space, baby. It's all about love. It's all
yeah.
about, come back home. He says a billion times to me, come back home to love and peace, and hold each other's hands, walk in love. And like it's just basically nonstop, mostly about love and being in the heart space and peace and all these sorts of things. He's not like, you're an idiot. Why don't you sharpen up? Like, I don't get
Yeah. You're a worm. Yeah.
it.
Strikes me from what you did. Thank you for sharing that. And I've heard bits and pieces of that story, in the podcast, or the connection with Jesus. But what strikes me is that maybe you experience the essence of what it is to be born again.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Like when we hear that verse so misused so often by Christians as an exclusive way to deny people their divinity. But what occurs to me is like you experience the essence of that by being in total communion with Christ.
Right. Right.
With
Yeah.
this experience, and how beautiful, like that everyone could have that.
Right. And I'm always feel like I'm always scratching the surface of any, because everybody's just so fully human. And I'm so fully human, and it's so beautiful that I think we see it as we get too caught up in, well, we're human, so let's sterilize the hell out of that, make us
Yeah.
either totally divine or integrate us with machines so we are total justice and all this stuff. And it's like, forget about it, folks. Enjoy the beauty of the foibles and the so-called mishaps of humanity or whatever you want to call it, even evil maybe sometimes, but it's all part of life, it wasn't meant to exist, it wouldn't exist, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah. We're on the
right,
learning camp.
right, it's there for a reason. And I think too often we have that Puritan kind of roots, they say, right? We're trying to wash it all out,
Yeah.
and sometimes the people are trying the hardest to do that are have the biggest problems and the biggest
Yeah.
losers sometimes and stuff, right? And you would
Yeah.
know
The
from
the
where you
more
grew up.
we yeah, the more we resist something, the more it's present in our lives, right?
Somehow I just lose my temper every Sunday all the same. No matter how much I try to wash it out, right? Or whatever. So whatever the case may be. Um, yeah, but you have just a real passion for this particular subject. And I think that's so beautiful the way you're guiding, and that there's no dogma. It's just like have people finding their own authentic path to their divinity or spirituality, and then likely to Jesus, because that's probably what they're interested in if they come to work,
Right.
right? So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, interestingly, I work with quite a few people who maybe after they finish working with me, they say, I don't really identify with being a Christian, but that doesn't mean that they're not into Jesus anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whatever their identity is and how they call themselves, that's totally their business. I'm not out to make
Right.
make anyone have particular identity statements, but it's that relational piece with Christ that I'm eager for them to be able to explore in ways that don't feel like they're going to hell.
Right. Right.
'Cause that's not serving.
Yeah. There is the camp that says, well, we need to make people afraid of hell so they get their act together. Otherwise, they're just screwing around and
Yeah,
here to get people to come around.
yeah, it's just no way to live.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just that, and I've just encountered so many people that I've worked with who they're so excited to be freed from that place of fear.
Yeah.
Because it's, they walk around just with that weight around them all the time. So when that freedom comes, there's nothing like it.
Mhm. Yeah, that guilt and shame too. Not, they may not be thinking I'm going to go to hell all the time, but maybe it's just guilt and shame that, like, Catholics, for example, are famous for, right? Catholic guilt and all that, and just like, oh, I'm not a good enough person. I'm just trying to be a better person, like constantly, but in a way that's really like I'll never get there.
Right.
Always be unworthy. So, I mean, if it works for somebody, they really think it works for them. I'm not gonna, like you would say, I'm not gonna try to talk them out of it, probably, but I might a little bit. Okay, never mind. Okay, I don't want to necessarily see that for people, but so anyway, so I just good to touch on some of this work that you do. We could go deep into it, but I have other things we want to talk about here. So let's talk about what you do to help entrepreneurs before we get into the scanning and looking at your purpose, your business, and all that good stuff. So tell us about your work with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so this is fairly new, the past couple of months that I've been doing this, and I love helping entrepreneurs find ways to get in alignment spiritually. So for entrepreneurs who are out there who haven't thought much about spirituality, but they're ready to embrace that, I kind of do some energy 101, like what is energy? How does all this work? Again, this is not doctrinal, it's not dogmatic. It's helping people get in alignment and also get into the energy of their business. So what's the energy that they're putting out there in their business in the quantum field? How does that look? How does that align? Who are they serving? Why are they doing it? So a lot of the traditional things like money mindset and getting into the flow, getting into that spiritual flow. So I help them do. I've also, who's been coming to me, and sometimes we go where spirit leads us, is people who are spiritual entrepreneurs who are ready to get launched. So I'm starting to work with people who are just like, okay, I want to launch, but I have no idea how, and get their spiritual business out there and up and running. And so that is super exciting. I'm working with a fantastic person right now, and just got an email from her that she put out this 300, just beginning. She's put out the $300 package. She was like, 2 people are signed up. And so I'm so excited for her, for not for a package, actually for a single session.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, well, that's great because she was, so working with the energy on how to get launched. So those are the two kinds of entrepreneurs that I'm working with, people who are interested in getting aligned spiritually, and then people, and maybe their business doesn't have anything to do with spirituality, but they
Okay.
want to incorporate their spirituality into their business and into their personal lives. And then those spiritual entrepreneurs who are ready to get started with their mission that they're here to do.
That's great. That's great. So, uh, so, uh, so you said you work with the mindset and getting them into their own flow, creating like it seems really important that you bring them into the harmony and resonance and alignment of
Yeah.
who they are, what they come here to do. That's what I'm hearing you say, basically, right? Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think into that alignment, and also that spirituality is for everyone,
Mhm.
and that every business, uh, probably every business is spiritual, and every business and entrepreneur has spirituality as part of who they are. And I think when we can kind of harness that energy and acknowledge that energy, amazing things start to happen in those subtle realms.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we can get in touch with our helpers, with our guides, with our business guides, and bring them in as allies. I mean, they're already allies, but be conscious about it.
Mhm.
So I know the more people we have out there who are doing their amazing, awesome, ethical, fantastic things in the world, the better. And if we're allying with spirit really consciously along the way, how much more powerful is that?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's what I love to help people realize in their own journey,
Let me
in
ask
their
you
entrepreneurial
a
journey.
question. Yeah, I have a question to ask you because it's just coming up to ask because you mentioned about ethics and then you talked about someone charging $300 and I'm like, you know, there are people will be like, why don't you teach them how to charge 3,000 a session or something like that, right? And and the reason I bring it up is because I'm just curious your take on there's so many people out there, right? They're making all these millions. They're like, yeah, you can make millions too. Just charge $1 million a program, or what? Like I'm exaggerating only slightly, but like
Right.
charge billions and charge as much as possible. That and do the AI, organic AI or whatever on social media, etc. It's a money machine, all that sort of thing. What's your take on some of these? Maybe they're very spiritual in a way. People
Right.
at the same time, it's all about the good life, and we're flowing with the good energy and everything. What's your take on that? I'm just curious, like, do you embrace that to a level, or are you more like, because everybody has their own relationship with all that energy,
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, I don't know about that, but so they can make some good points, or I don't know. I'm just curious how you're in relationship with those folks.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think everyone has a different, a different sort of calling to how they're going to price their services. I definitely encourage people. Usually, I'm like, you need to double whatever that is. They usually tell me what the prices are, and I say you should double that right away. And that doesn't mean that there's not room to do scholarship pricing once in a while, right?
Mhm,
So I think there's a lot of right ways to do it.
mhm.
Generally, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, way, 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 way undercharge. And
Right.
so I'm always encouraging them to consider raising their prices as a way to be more impactful,
Mhm, mhm,
right? So when they do that, they can reach a different kind of level of person and be more impactful with those people and help spread the ripple effect.
mhm.
I'll maybe I can tell a story in this regard. This was even before I started doing this kind of coaching. This was just probably 7 or 8 years ago. And a colleague came to me and did bereavement counseling, and she ran these small groups. And she charged, I mean, it was like $20 or something for a 6-week class. I mean, it was really, really low. And it was a service. It was a great service. But we did the math, and I finally said, you're paying for this class. You're not breaking even by the time you drive to the place where you have to go. Said so you're telling the universe that you're willing to pay for people to come and take your class. And if that's what you're telling the universe is going to respond. And that's the kind of people you're going to get in your classes. And I was like, how many of them show up for the first session and don't ever come back?
Mhm.
Oh, and quite a few did. So after, within a couple of months, she was charging fair rates and still offering it at a price that people could afford, for grief work, which is really important. So, is it appropriate for her to charge $1 million a session? Probably not,
Mhm.
but she was paying people to come to her.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, and that's not a good fair exchange. So for this person, 300 is the discount rate for the first 5 people, and after that, it's going to be more.
Right.
And so, so it's getting her situated in her power and her energy so that she can charge those higher prices, because, oh my gosh, her services are so valuable.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, usually, I mean, I know some coaches be like, I take them from charging nothing to thousands of session or whatever. Yeah, maybe. But then there's a lot of people where maybe they just can't come around, no matter how much you clear the Akashic records and do all your DNA there and
Right.
whatever. Everybody's got their methods. They swear this is the only way or the best way. It's funny how we never
Yeah.
get out of that program. It's like,
Right.
my way is the only way or the best way, or at least if other ways may work, but mine's even better. And it's all kind of part of the marketplace, I guess. But this is what's going to align them. This is what's good for them. And there are some exceptions too. Like there's people who decide to charge less later. Like they
Mhm.
the rates. They're like, I just got this spiritual calling. Yeah, I have the big business. I decided I'm going this route. I've seen that in the marketplace. I've seen people burn out all the sense of pressure of charging a lot, and just fold shop, go do something else with their life. I've
Mhm.
seen that, all the complication of all the big programs and everything, like, or they live in perpetual hell with it. And some of them I'm sure are reasonably happy and very fulfilled. And there's a whole variety out there. But I think what you would say based on everything I heard you say is like, well, what fits you? What fits you is what,
Yeah, I think
right?
it is a personal thing, and we all do need a coach to help us
Right.
see our value and see our worth as well, and to tell us when we're radically undercharging, or maybe like radically overcharging
Right. Right.
for
Yeah.
something. Right. But I talked to someone the other day who has a very successful business, very ethical, deeply spiritually rooted, and they do several events a year that are pay what you can.
Hmm.
And if someone shows up and they need bus money to get home, they provide it.
Right.
So the
Right.
pay what you can works all directions. I've never tried anything like that, in my own
I've
pricing
tried it
structure.
before. I've
But
tried it.
yeah, I mean, it worked, but it's really in alignment with what he does, and it works very well because it's in total alignment with his ethics and spirituality and model.
Yeah, I've tried it for periods of time. I'll say I've tried one time. I did an experiment of giving people 3 different prices what they could pay for something. I just found, like I say, pay what you want to pay. Like most everybody wanted to pay the highest amount.
Mhm.
Once you give them a choice, they're like, so that was fascinating to me. They
Right.
picked the lower thing. They're like, no, I want to give, I want to give the most, rather than the smallest. So
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't stay with the model, but it was fun to experiment because it was fun at the time, and then it just showed me something. Like, I can tell that people they want to invest. They really do want to give more
Yeah.
rather than the very least. Ultimately, there's always people wanting to get their bargains, but generally speaking, they want to give more. Well,
And you made money fun, and then that frees it from all the
yeah. Yeah,
restrictions
yeah,
that we have around it.
exactly.
And that,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like, hey, let's get loosened up. Whatever you want to
yeah.
pay this, you want to pay that. Pick your price. And I give them the prices, and then they would go ahead and they pick the highest one. So, yeah, and so yeah, the more we can loosen people up around those price points is huge. Is a huge part of how I like to train people too. So anyway, but yeah, let's talk about your offerings. Let's get into, and then therefore let's get into the scanning stuff.
Yeah.
So you're a couple months in with this. It sounds like you've got some clients. I don't know how many clients do you have currently, if I may ask. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, I have 2 that are in the launch phase,
right.
they're kind of doing the launch program. And then I just launched my first free mini class. And so that we can talk about that towards the end. And then I'm preparing right now for a Divine Feminine small group.
Oh,
So
okay.
some groups, some one-on-ones, and some other things kind of in the wings.
Okay, great. So All right, on the one-to-one, so how do people sign up for, period of time, or what's the arrangement?
Yeah, for six sessions, and it usually lasts around 3 months, depending on what their needs are.
Okay. All right. Is there any other big things included? I mean, everybody gives some support, right? Homework reviews and all those sorts of things, right? Are there any
Oh
other
yeah.
particularly big extras that you're giving, or is it basically the sessions and the support in between, or
Sessions, and then they get access to my library.
okay.
Yeah, to my online library as well. And I love that we're going to do the energy scan, because I've just kind of sketched out the rest of the year. So there's other packages that are in the works, but not yet
Okay. Okay.
public, right? And that'll be more like 6 months at a time
Okay. Okay.
in working with me. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so this in the launch phase, are you consciously charging a little less, or for this phase, or no?
I do. It's a tiny, yeah, a little bit less. I think one more client will get the less, the beginner rate, and then it will be
Okay.
full priced. Yes.
Okay. Are you charging at least four figures for this, or what's the
Oh
range?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. For right now, for people that are launching their business, for the spiritual entrepreneurs who are launching, it's 3,500 for the discount, and then 5,000 for the full price.
Okay.
So I have
Sorry.
space for like one more at the 3,500 rate, and then it's the
Okay.
5,000. Yeah.
I always tell people this is like an old, thing where people they test like crazy everything, and they found like a difference between like 3,000, 3,500, and 5 grand is like nothing for the most part in the marketplace. Like no, people don't even blink an eye. Okay,
Right.
5 grand, whatever. Like so
People when they're first starting out are like, what, I have to spend money to make money, right?
yes, yes.
So, and I remember that kind of feeling myself. But yeah, absolutely, you do. You have to have someone who can hold the space for you and show you what to do. If you don't know how already, which most of us don't. Most of us don't have MBAs, right? So
Well, not
someone to
only
show you the
that,
ropes.
but just the support,
Yeah.
we don't appreciate that is your infrastructure, is the support. It's like without the support, I've found that I don't grow. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't grow. I can grow in certain ways, right? But in terms of my business, I don't tend to grow if I don't
Right.
have support. It's just like, yeah, I'm just kind of doing this thing or whatever. And but when I have the support, there's something about it lifts your energy because you're getting that emotional energy, spiritual support. And then, yeah, you get, the tactical to me is it could be huge, could be totally huge, but it's secondary ultimately because the rest is what really is the magic, right? We always say the energy is the
Yeah.
magic, right?
Right.
Ultimately. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
I think everyone needs space to be able to flip out. And
right,
a
right.
coach provides that space for you, right?
Where's the next client coming from, or whatever it is, right? Something.
And,
I don't know.
well, and last week, Chiron, the asteroid Chiron, was doing something nuts. And every person I talked to, entrepreneur or not, was like having, like, last Wednesday, so 9 days ago, everyone was having some kind of flip out session,
Yeah,
especially those of us who are really sensitive to the energy. And Chiron was conjunct or something with Juno. And so Chiron is our deepest wounds, and Juno is commitment. So whatever it was that we're feeling committed to, whether it's relationships, business, those of us who are entrepreneurs, our businesses, like literally everyone I talked to was having a meltdown moment. And so I know I was like, I need to have my meltdown moment with my coach. And then all of my clients were like, I need to have a meltdown moment with you.
right, right.
And so, we all need it.
Right, exactly. We all go through things. I'm walking on sunshine, oh yeah, and then it's like, oh, everything's ending. The end is very near. And
Yeah.
how it is in our society too. We're just the micro, the macro, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just big. It can be very dramatic. So yeah, when you're feeling like you feel on top of the world one day, by the end of the day, you could feel like you're in a gutter. Like it's that like.
Part of being human.
Especially we could talk shop forever, right? But like one of my clients like charged way more or received way more overall than she'd ever received before. She's relatively new. And she's going up into the healthy 5 figures for someone to invest in a program. And she was on, oh man, I feel so, oh my God, I'm celebrating, pop that champagne kind of energy. And then within a day or two, it's like, I'm really doubting myself. I'm really wondering,
Right. Yeah.
really, right? Because it's like, whoa, what am I doing? Right? And
Yeah.
you begin to wonder, like, is this for real? Like that happens too. Like, you know, this is success. And then you're like, am I an imposter? Am I really supposed to have this kind of success? That happens too. So there's so many things. Even if you could create this success on your own, you know, there's limits and you can always go further with help. So I'm glad we're talking about this. As
Yeah.
it says, we're
It's
good at
so
talking
important.
shop. We could talk shop
Right.
more. But let's
Well, and
get into
it's,
the, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Oh, totally.
I was just gonna say, let's get into the energy scan. Otherwise,
Beautiful.
for the whole show talking chap. But it's good. This is good stuff for everybody to take in. Okay, so let's go ahead and start tuning in. Now, I'm not going to ask you any more questions. I'm just going to do the scanning, and then probably a point back to maybe some of the things you did mention about your business, and kind of go from there. So usually the scanning, maybe it's going to take, do my best to keep it to 15, 20 minutes, the scanning part, and then we'll talk about it, and then maybe work a couple of things out to maybe shift some things for you going forward. But so I'll try to keep it a little shorter than my longer ones. Okay. All right, guys. So you ready to receive, Katie?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So I'm just going to start tapping in and start sharing. Very interesting. Okay. So, all right. So usually I just share everything, like just to reiterate, I'm going to share everything, then we'll talk about it. And some of the things that are coming through, I can feel you're very embracing of everything, but you may not agree mentally at first with some of these things. So I'm hearing your spiritual teacher and guide is really your core. And that, yes, certainly you're a very smart person. You can totally rock it out and helping people in business. That's not an issue. So that's fine. But the way I'm hearing the guidance, they're like, yeah, and again, you could build up a whole big business and do this for years and just like say, no, that scan guy was wrong, you know. But I'm just gonna say, like, what they're saying is like that's sort of meant to be it's like they call it a side gig. I don't know, but like maybe it's not a side gig right now, but like it's sort of like part of what you do. But the metaphysical and the spiritual teachings and everything, and being a spiritual teacher and guide is your greater aspect. So okay, I just want to start there. Yeah, the Aphrodite thing, they're being guided back to talk to you about. I feel connecting up into your sacral chakra, the Aphrodite energy, and they're just saying, this is for real. This is for real for her. And so let me look at that a little bit more. I just get, I mean, I almost laugh because it's like, oh, the usual, yeah, it's past life, you have connection to this energy, and I'm like, okay. I almost get like I see stones around, almost looks like Stonehenge. So it looks like you're there, you're like you have access like to the deep mysteries of life in your soul, like you have access to like portals into maybe other dimensions, other energy, you know, other ways, other realms of perception. You have access to that within your soul from past lives. And so you could also be a guide into way woo, you know, way deeper stuff, maybe than you've even gone into yet. So I see that aspect. Let's see what else is coming through. I don't know, they're really cautioning on this business route. It's very interesting. They're like, don't sell out to the business stuff. Okay. All right. So we'll come back to that later. Okay. So now they're just showing me in the crown chakra, just this huge receptivity you have, and you have a very computer-like brain. It's got like got quick processing speed. It's got a lot of gigs or whatever. It's got a lot, you know, it's got a lot. It's a very powerful machine, you know, it's very efficient. And so that's a great tool, really. I mean, So from a spiritual energy coming into the brain, there is a little bit of heaviness coming into the brain. Let's take a look at that some more. So it's saying like as it relates to like we go to things like the pineal gland, or however we want to pronounce that. I hear people say different ways, but it's like they're like, yeah, it's sort of activated 30% or something like that. It's like it's sort of activated, but that it seems like more activation here perhaps could help help bring the your brain into even more alignment and coherence. So, but yeah, it's just I keep hearing a beautiful brain. Okay, all right. So let's see. So now I'm just hearing like we've got a big house to play with here. So um, like I get the sense of like you're creating like this big tent playhouse or something for people is kind of what I'm translating it down into. There's many directions I could go with that, but it's like come on, you know, like sort of like come on in, like Carnival Barker energy a little bit, like come on in, we've got a ride for everybody or something like that. So yeah, the idea is to include as many people as possible, and maybe not everyone, you know, of course, that's like kind of way too much, but it's sort of like, how can I include more people in this playhouse? Because this is where, you know, we come to worship the Lord, so to speak. This is where we come the true Lord and Savior. I don't know, these just are the words coming through. Like here's where we get past all the mind chatter of what life's about and religion, and where we come to the truth that just felt and understood at a deep level. And everyone can appreciate that, and their minds still might have concepts about the way things are, but they can feel this you know, unity, this universal presence, and they wake up to that. So while they're on the carousel, they can feel it, or if they're on the roller coaster, they can feel whatever they're involved with, they can feel it. They can feel it, and they feel united to that. And so you as a minister, you could be a different kind of minister, possibly, where you're calling people in a new way, and people get to play in the arena of this energy in their own unique way. Hey, I like roller coasters. Great, we got one of those. Hey, I like this. Okay, we got one of those too. So it's like the idea is not literal, obviously, but it's like, okay, there's something here for all of you, you know, whatever you like, it's not wrong, good or bad or whatever, it's just perfect for you. And you can find your so-called salvation or connection with source in this beautiful space within that. Okay, so let's see what else comes through. And you're definitely one of those people, like I get this with certain people, like I see you with tablets and stuff, and like you've got like again ancient wisdom that was written down. You know, maybe you're part of putting them together, and then like you might recreate that. You might someday wake up and be like, I gotta download, these are all the ancient tablets, and then write all this stuff out, and like something like that. Like you just got this like this ancient wisdom in you to share with people. Okay, let's see. So yeah, most people feel like the door is closed in life. You know, there's only so much possible. You're like, no, the door's wide open. You know, like, and you help people to see how the door is wide open for them. No, just come right through this portal right here. It's wide open. So they're trying to go through the jammed door that's closed. It's dark. It's totally closed off. It might feel like there's demons or something around it for them. Like I can't go in. That's okay. There's a door wide open, right? You know, just move to your left. And here it is. And they're just like, whoa, I never imagined this to be like this, and how much is available to me, and everything's possible now. And so, yeah, so you're just able to help redirect people simply. It's not like this big dramatic path in terms of like the way you bring them into it. It's really maybe simple and practical often, even though it could get very deep and mystical. So I noticed that. Yeah, I just feel like whenever all this gets created, it's like I see people coming one by one, then it's like I come in by busloads or something like that. Like a lot of people want to get in, once it builds all this energy and momentum. Okay, let's see. We also know you still have questions about what you're doing right now, so we're going to address that a little bit right now. Okay, so um, so what they're saying, my sense is that you're experimenting with how to align people's energy with their ultimate fulfillment in business. I get it. And often we're working with other people on what we're working on ourselves, right? So you're like looking to develop that even more strongly for yourself. So what better way than to be a teacher? So as you're doing this, and you will help people create incredible successes and build their businesses, you'll be even more prepared to build your own big tent, whatever that is. We go more to the grandest energy and vision rather than a more limited scope of like, yeah, well, you could just do this. So we're just saying like, wow, yeah, you're gonna really harness the connection between heaven and earth, not just from the spiritual into your brain, and then I could execute and into your heart, but like again, like what's so critical is all the way down and through that root chakra into the earth, like really being fully in your deepest purpose, and then bringing allowing the way of actualization of that business to come into you. So you're practicing with other people and therefore sort of with yourself and simultaneously. That's what they're showing me. That's why this is it is a good gate to go through. It's perfect. And let's see. Yeah, they're saying all these different things, all the different programs you're creating or whatever you're creating. It's just like, yeah, that's all part of that big tent. You want to experiment with this, experiment with that. So I kind of get like that will be fine as long as like you got your one main meat and potato kind of offer that really sustains you financially and helps you to see some growth financially, and then ultimately maybe some significant growth. But to keep the meat and potato part more basic and simple, the other stuff just feels like it may not be, some of it might be a lot of people, but some of it just feels like, yeah, some people come in, it's more like light and fun and interesting for everybody. Don't get me wrong, could totally be massively transformational too, but it's in a business sense, it doesn't feel necessarily, okay, I'm not speaking absolutely here, but huge. So I think like, this hardcore business focus is like going to probably be the best route for now anyway, for financial. And then eventually the other stuff will, something really take off, like something with the spiritual aspect more so will really kick in, because you're integrating lots of stuff still with all this, okay, I need to move on next. Okay. Yeah, I just see the stifling. Maybe as a child, it's showing me. I almost see like a hand on the throat. So sometimes that is a literal choking, or it may just be how you felt you were stifled. Could be either way. But yeah, you're a fighter though. You could be a really strong fighter. Like, you hold compassion in your heart, but you can be strong and fierce. So yeah, I see that. Okay, good. So then that gets people off of you. Like, so they're trying to chop your head off. You're like, no, you don't. I'll put it right back on, like something like that. So you're strong, you're rebellious in that way. You're not gonna be like, oh, okay, I must have done something wrong. No, you don't believe that. You don't believe that. Not to mean you never feel remorse or guilt or ever. I'm saying like you won't really buy into it ultimately. Okay, so let's see. The big expression, the big mic. I just need to move on because of time. Heart chakra. Oh, oh. Yeah. Now it's a good Pandora's box. It's like, man, there's so many more blessings that can come through the transmission of your heart space because it's a huge heart space. So as you welcome people into that, more of your own sense of your personal self, of course, as you get more enlightened, more light, more in the light, um, more of your personal sense of self will dissolve. You are very able to get very diffuse on a physical level, but you've got a strong anchor in your root chakra that keeps you from just drifting off, right? Because you could get really diffuse, but you've got this really solid anchoring in your root that keeps you alive and thriving, overall. So, okay, so I'm just noticing the huge heart space. Um, yeah, it's just like, yeah, there's some spears coming at you from behind, but you're like, yeah, okay. Kind of like an old story, like, I don't have time to tell it, but basically you're like, hey, I understand you're just doing your thing. All right, here, let me, here's $5. Go have yourself a good time, whatever. I don't know. It's okay. All right, so, all right. Okay. Okay, so perhaps this has shifted over the years, but they're sort of like, let me just kind of eat up all the energy, all the crappy energy out there. Me just sort it out inside of me, and like you'll purge it all. You'll purge it all. You're gonna it could be like literally you were purging. It's possible, but it's like definitely energetic, like taking in a lot of this energy and then purging. So it's just like, oh, let it all out now. Okay, I've transmuted it, and maybe some of it was definitely unconscious, and then maybe at times in your life you've done it consciously, and then you're like, no, I'm not supposed to be doing that. But there's a pattern that recreates it sometimes, or there's a level of it that's maybe running is in the background. Okay, let's see what else. Anything else? So you just move on. Okay, let's go to the sacral chakra for now. Yeah, when you know something's true, you do. You need to jump in with both feet. Otherwise, the moment will be lost and things won't come together, right? So you've got to move with speed when you get the downloads. And you do. I think you do. Yeah. So I don't think there's an issue there. I'm just noticing that. So the good thing for people that would want to work with you is you bring that to other people, because you'll get a big download and they'll feel the energy of it, and it automatically ignites their energy, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to have that. Let's just have it, and then they just kind of naturally have that confidence and go right into it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's just have it. Then most people will get it right away. Like they'll get the blessing like pretty quickly because it drops in energetically really fast. Okay, that's nice. Very, very good. Root chakra. The root chakra, the first thing to show me is I know a lot of people say, I want to travel the world, but like for you, it feels like you want to go to all these different spaces and places, and not only on Earth, but beyond. And I want to experience everything. I want to experience the big 10 of life and the universe, and almost like a Star Trek and kind of theme, like whatever they say. I forget the whole. You probably know it, but my brain isn't as efficient as yours. I can't remember what they say. The final frontier, obviously, but the rest of it, I don't know. But anyway, that whole kind of theme comes in. You're like, yeah, totally. You just know there's so much more to explore. So the root chakra is like, let's go. But you also have that strong anchor. When it comes to, let's look at, there is still something around deserving around money. So it's like, well, it's like, if it feels like maybe you're not deserving enough, you'll find a way not to either, to maybe you give it away or something. Like I just see it being gotten rid of. Like, okay, no, I don't. You be a person like, no, don't worry about it. I got the check or whatever. Like, no, don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. And you probably feel okay about it most of the time, but there is this unworthiness thing of just, it's safe to just let it in. let God just bathe you so deeply and let it in more, and it's particularly financially in your business and more. So just let it in, and let it be well. Okay, let's see what's in. They're saying good enough for now. All right. So, okay, let's just pause there and just see what. Yeah, I never know where it's going for 100%. So here we are. Okay, what reflections and thoughts do you have from that?
That that was amazing. Thank you so much. And I felt a lot of clearing like as you were
Yeah.
doing it. And usually I was like 2 chakras behind you.
Okay.
And so like I would feel my crown clear when you were like on my
Cool.
moving
Cool.
on down. So that was kind of surprising actually. Let me share. I everything you said about the heart chakra was super helpful. Trying not to have the pages turn into the microphone there. But it was so interesting because about 6 days ago, I have a new space for Aphrodite because this is the energy I've been working with lately, and she's come to me to ask me to help with my business, which I gratefully accepted. And something fell. She like the space for her is on my wall, and the main altar is kind of beneath that. And something fell from her space, and my little chakra stones are lined up in order. And I came out of that's in the hallway because I have this tiny space, but my heart chakra stone was in the middle of the floor, and it was the only one. And it's not like it can get knocked off the table and the other stones just stay in place because they're all lined up. I was like, well, that's really bizarre. Why is that one right there? And I just thought it needs to be there, and I'm not going to mess with it. Like something's being cleared in me. I'm just going to leave it. So I left it for 2 or 3 days. And when I felt like it was right, I put it back into place. And then my husband said, okay, you moved that stone back. Why was it in the middle of the floor? I was like, I don't know why it was in the middle of the floor, but we just let it do its thing.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. So like everything you said about the heart chakra just felt like so on. There's just been a lot of clearing there the past week too. And so like, it was just really helpful I think to have that confirmed and to have, just have all of that. Just knowing that energy is flowing is really, really super helpful. And definitely the confirmation, like I have to jump in with both feet or things won't happen. Like if it lingers too long, it just is gone. It runs out of steam and it gets an energetic leak. So that was like absolutely true. And I tried to fight that for a long time and do this long range. So I just hate it. I can't do it.
You're gonna do this over 10 years, yeah, right?
Yeah. No, I just need to like sit down and just do it, make it happen, and tweak and iterate and do it again the next time. And like what you said about Aphrodite was just super helpful because this is brand new energy, like brand new energy that I'm working with.
Yeah, in this life at least, for sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It really came actually because of travel that I did. So you are right. And yes, and I've been rewatching episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation this week. So
oh my God, it's so fun.
Randomly skipping through episodes in preparation for the new Picard season that's coming out. So total Star Trek person. Yeah, you nailed that.
Cool.
It's a great metaphor for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, that's so great. What did you think about like the business coaching being more preparation for? It's all amazing, it's all perfect, right? But like the greater, larger purpose in a sense is ultimately like as a spiritual maybe teacher or way show or however
Right.
describe. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of wrapping my mind around it. I think it's because the people who tend to come to me are themselves wanting to engage with spirituality in the world. Right. So in that sense, like I'm always the spiritual teacher or the guide and holding space for them to see how business can be innately spiritual. Because that's many spiritual people when they're starting feel like it's not spiritual.
Yes.
Right. And so seeing that everything really is sacred there, like that to me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So we'll see. This is where we would, if we were talking more about it and stuff, we'd tease it out and be like, okay, what does that really mean? Obviously, it's more long term in a way what I was pointing to. So we wouldn't have to like figure it out right away. But it's like they want to put it into your awareness, and then okay, if that's true, then sometimes it does inform more what's going on right now, and then But yeah, I mean, the value that you bring people can be through the roof because you will bring them into the right alignment, right energy fast.
Mhm.
So that was really clear too. So that's a huge
Cool.
value point.
Well, and thank you too for the you spoke about like ancient wisdom. And what I have written on my little board next to my on my desk right now is that I teach old souls, like new ways of doing things, but it's all through this ancient wisdom filter.
That,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I really appreciated that. And I
Oh,
studied ancient text, like that's what my training was in,
training was in what again? Sorry.
studying ancient text.
Ancient text. Oh wow,
Yeah.
another
All right,
another.
so
Okay, all right, not bad. I guess some good stuff came through.
yeah, very. Thank
Cool,
you.
cool, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, just for time's sake, we'll probably leave it there for the time being. But grateful to share with you. And yeah, let's talk about your gift that you have for everybody. So, do you want to tell them about that free gift?
Yeah. So this one is specifically for entrepreneurs, and it is a very short guide because I know you're all busy on becoming empowered with the divine feminine in your life and in your business. And I give you some really concrete ways on how to connect if you've never connected before, how to connect more deeply if that's not brand new to you. And once you download the guide, I give you a ton of resources and podcast and ways to really, really get you connected. So it's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, but it's deep all at the same time. And so I think you have the link for that you can share with folk.
Right, right. Yeah. And one thing, I haven't checked it out yet, but when she says there's a ton of resources, I'm sure of it. Okay. She's resources. She's got a package full of good stuff. So check it out. Like give me one or two examples of what's in there that people probably are really going to enjoy.
Yeah, there's several podcasts where I help you connect to different divine feminine beings. So I think one is Bridget, one is Mary Magdalene, one is like Lady Portia. So those are some concrete things to do. And then especially for those of us with female bodies and really for anyone with a body, which is everyone, but especially for women, on actually helping connect to love your body, because that is the easiest portal and access point for the divine feminine to work through you. And so many of us are taught self-hatred.
Yes, yes.
And so that's but we can't do anything without our bodies in this world.
Right, right.
And so that there's some access points there to help you engage in that self-love. And like that's something we can't ever do too much of.
Right, right. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm grateful for you sharing that with everybody. And yeah, you definitely want to take advantage of resources from her. You want to see things start jumping fast. She's a great person to jump on board with if that feels aligned for you. So with that being said, I just want to share with everybody that the scanning I did today does give you a bit of an idea what I do during a paid consultation. It goes further because I have more time. We get into more details. We don't get into. I look to try to map out more of a plan and exact things like, okay, here's at least a couple of things I want you to change specifically, and all those sorts of things. Or it's not me just telling you, but like that you probably will resonate with. You'll be like, yep, you're right. We want to do that next, right? So if you want to take advantage of that, you can do that at my website. It's yoursacredpurpose.com. And it's called the Rock Your Sacred Purpose Energy Scan Consultation. I always say only take advantage of it if you're ready to rock. It is a paid consultation. So it's not, I've been doing this, thousands of people do these energy scans, thousands and thousands. So trained many, many hundreds of people at least to do this work. So you're getting it from one of the best on the planet, no doubt about it. So, all right. So if you're ready to rock it, to Rock Your Sacred Purpose Energy Scan Consultation, someone had listened in to one of these exact shows, recently got one, and she's very happy with what she got. So check it out at yoursacredpurpose.com. And if you want to just start increasing your vibrancy and money flow, get the free meditate, make money meditation. It's going to open you up in your chakras, your energy, and there's just something magical about the meditation. It reminds me sort of like I listened to an Eckhart meditation today. I don't know what the hell he was talking about half the time because you get in a deep space, right? But I'm just like, this is activating something. It's beyond what even he's saying, right? That's what people say with my meditations often. You're doing something more. And I'm like, I guess, sure. Okay, good. Yeah. Something's channeling through me. So check it out. Meditate and make money. It gets you in a flow where money just starts showing up more in your business, and you get your downloads for what wants to happen next to your business of free meditation. So yoursacredpurpose.com for all that good stuff. All right. So finally, Katy, I want to come back to you. You shared some wisdom earlier, and you were so great about just being open and sharing about your work and your business and everything. And so I just really want to thank you for being on the show. And also, I do like to give my guests the last word as far as bits of wisdom, etc. So are any last words, bits of wisdom you want to give to the audience?
Oh, thank you for having me. And let's see, last bits of wisdom. I think it's meet yourself where you are, so that you can expand fully into who you're called to be. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So like when we can meet ourselves exactly where we are without pushing or straining or even hating ourselves or being super inflated with ourselves, but just meet ourselves exactly with where we are and show ourselves great compassion. I think that's where the magic really begins. Because then we're not looking outside of ourselves. We're looking within for that compass.
That's so good because what the marketing out there is saying, you're not good enough, you're not where you want to be, right? It sucks. You don't want to be where you are, and it's like, yeah, but I got to embrace right where I am and build from that, rather than otherwise nothing will ever be good enough, right? So I love that wisdom. That was a great one. Yeah, I really appreciated that.
That was from Source, so I'll be
great. Your source of credit.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, Katy, good stuff. Thank you again for being a guest on the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. And also to our audience, like I always say, keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.